Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome, everyone, to the Joan Hamburg Show. We have such a good show, as we do every Sunday, starting at 2 o'clock. We have Joan Nathan, who is one of the best foodies in America. She's a very well-known cookbook author. She is a contributor to the New York Times, and she's a great cook, really, and an authority on Jewish holidays and food that goes along with them. So I'm excited for you to meet, if you haven't met her already, Joan Nathan. And then we're going to take you to Broadway, where actor Danny Burstein is starring, and he's got great tales to tell. A terrific Sunday straight ahead on the Joan Hamburg Show. So don't go anywhere. We need you to be with us. And I am Joan Hamburg.
The First Lady of New York Radio.
This is Joan Eats.
If you're thinking about ordering a turkey or a ham for the Easter holidays, this is the perfect time. You should do it now, as soon as possible. Ask for delivery on April 4th or 5th, the Tuesday or Wednesday before Easter, in case there are shipping issues. I love Jive Turkey. May do it myself this year. JiveTurkey.com, 718-797-1688. Crispy, deep-fried turkey. No mess. Delicious. You remember they were in Brooklyn. In fact, on Thanksgiving, the lines were around the block. People love those deep-fried turkeys. There's no more storefront. But since 2015, Jive Turkeys has sold their famous fried turkeys across the country. Great for Easter dinner. They come in their basic, called the Jive Turkey, seasoned with garlic powder and pepper, Cajun turkey, Jamaican jerk turkey, and herb bourbon turkey. They have a lot of them. They come in a special bag. You can keep them in the fridge for up to 4 days. They heat in about 45 minutes, and it eliminates hours of prepping, defrosting, seasoning, basting. The bags allow the skin to re-crisp, so you get a turkey that looks like it's just pulled out of the oven. It's delicious. They're between 12 and 14 pounds. They're $129 each, plus shipping. If you live near Brooklyn, you can order your turkey and pick it up at 332 Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn. And then Nueske's, Nueske', 390 East Grand Avenue, Wittenberg, Wisconsin, 800-382-2266. They specialize in applewood smoked meats, bacon, ham, sausage, poultry. Their bacon is delicious. And for Easter, you might want to try the spiral slice bone-in ham. Then you've got a bone to make split pea soup. And you can get a half for $84.99. It's about 7 pounds. Or you can get a whole 12 pounds for $119. They're whole smoked turkeys, moist, juicy, flavorful, fully cooked, ready to eat. You can heat them up or eat them at room temperature. $79 for, I think it's $79.99. You'll check that. A smoked whole turkey, 9 pounds, and really delicious, and they even have a bigger size. Shipping fees are additional based on the value of the product and address. They claim you should order your Easter one before April 1st. And don't forget Burgers, Burgers Smokehouse in California, Missouri, 800-624-5426, smokehouse.com. Maybe your friends ordered ham from here like mine did. It absolutely is delicious. And their story goes back to 1927 when the burger founder learned from generations past how to cure the perfect ham. And Mr. Burger was a rural farmer in Missouri. 3 and 4 generations of the family still operated, and they make them from fresh ham brined in a sweet honey cure, slow smoked over real history wood chip. Savory, sweet, delicious every time. Just heat in the oven. Free shipping on hams and turkeys shipped in the country, and you can buy them whole or half from $79 to $130. Really delicious. And then Dartagian, 1-800-327-8246, weekdays 9 to 5, have been committed for over 35 years to free-range natural products, humane farming, really a wonderful company. And their Berkshire pork bone and smoked ham half starts at $92 frozen, $94.99 fresh. It's uncured, fully cooked, ready to eat, naturally smoked, no nitrites, no phosphates, no artificial fillers. Really something special. So you've got a little head start on a delicious holiday to come.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The First Lady of New York Radio, Joan Hamburg, entertaining and informative. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome, everyone, to the Joan Hamburg Show. We have Passover, we have Easter, we have holidays coming up. And I love to talk to Joan Nathan, who's one of the great foodies in this country and very interesting, a cookbook author of so many cookbooks, a contributor to the New York Times. And I'm sure that if you go back to Joan's roots, that you wouldn't think from all the things that she studied that she would end up being a major player in the world of food. A master's degree in French literature and public administration from Harvard, worked for a lot of political people like mayors, including our own Mayor Abraham Beame in New York City. So no one has had a more interesting career than the one and only Joan Nathan. And it's still going strong. I'm sure that when you got out of school, it didn't enter your mind that you were going to be one of the leading authorities on Jewish cooking in America.
Absolutely not. No way. In fact, I'm just finishing a memoir that's coming out in a year, just 1 year in March, called Joan Nathan, A Life in Search of Recipes. And it talks about all the things you were just saying. It talks about all the different facets of my life and how I ended up in food. So,
but it's interesting because I was saying to my children not long ago, many of their friends and even the generation right on back of them have life plans, quote unquote. But many of us just let life happen to us. When you were a kid in school, you didn't say, I'm going to grow up to be Joan Nathan, the big food authority, right? I mean, your path took you so many different turns.
And it just happens, you know. You just do a good job in whatever you're doing and have a little bit of, I don't know, my life just happened.
Right, but you let it happen and you went along with it.
Well, and you have to work hard too. But I honestly think I never wanted anything but an interesting life. That's it.
But then where did the food come from?
Well, read my memoir. My father was German born, and he liked to eat. He liked to go to restaurants. Like he liked taking me to I'm sure you knew La Potiniere in New York. And
of course.
And my grandfather liked to take me to Hungarian restaurants up on, in Yorkville. And I love the horn and heart arts, so that was something. I guess food and people were the two things that I always liked. And I liked being together as a family and talking about food and cooking, and I don't know. But I also was curious about my own background and other people's background. And I never think of like a recipe. It's just something on a plate. It's what it led to that plate. And that's what's interesting to me.
Right. And every recipe has a story.
And every recipe has a story. So right now, as we're talking, we're preparing for Passover in my kitchen, or prepare Passover and also the end of when my kids are coming home. And, I'm doing all these old recipes, like an old fish recipe from a Sephardic Jews with preserved lemon in it and olives and peppers, and it's going to be delicious. And then another recipe I just got I was just in Israel, and it was a risotto from Jerusalem with all kinds of grains that we never use, like fricka, which is the parched wheat of the Bible, and it's sort of an ancient risotto. It's not really a risotto, but sort of a risotto. So that's the kind of thing I'm always looking for, and I, and it's true. It tells a story, and that's what actually Passover and Easter do, was tell stories. And the other thing that I really like is sort of getting in touch with the cyclical year, the natural year. Natural cycle year. And so, when you were talking just now about Easter and Passover, all the eggs, because, chickens lay eggs at a time when there's more grass, and that's in the early spring. And so we have all these eggs to use. And so both Easter and Passover use them.
But is there a symbolism of eggs? Is it fertility? Is it?
Right. It's fertility. It's fertility mostly, but also the sort of the circular part of the year, circle of the year, and the circle of life.
The circle of life. And you are busy now changing, I take it, your kitchen. Could you explain?
Well,
what that is?
What I do is I don't change my kitchen, but what I do is I put a certain part of the kitchen. I'll clean it off and get rid of everything, and we'll just cook there right now for whatever we're doing for Passover. But I try to get rid of everything that's fermented, or like I've already been through my freezer and just moving things around so that I have two freezers, so that I'm using one freezer for Passover and one not for Passover. I try to do spring cleaning in my house,
and this
but
is excuse.
I'm not such a stickler, but I do as much as I can, and I don't change dishes. But everybody knows that it's Passover, and I keep Passover for 8 days. Mm-hmm. So I do it in my own way.
And do your children come home? Do they have favorites? What do you do?
Well, they actually, that's funny. I just wrote to all of them and their spouses to see what food does Passover mean to you? And my son said matzo balls and chicken soup. And then my daughter-in-law said, I had make this wonderful egg and spinach. It's just delicious. And she said that's what it means to her, the spinach and eggs. And which is an old Sephardic recipe where the eggs are cooked for hours and hours. And then, let's see, and then other people did a flourless chocolate cake. So it was kind of fun to see what everybody liked. Because then I think about what am I going to be making, for Passover, because we have 35 people coming.
Yeah, and what basically do you think that you might do? Do you do a fish? Do you do a turkey?
I do. Well, we have a gefilte fish in the Tuesday before Passover. 6 women come to my house every year, and we all make gefilte fish, and it's really fun. It's the only time we do it in that way, in the very traditional way. And then I do chicken soup with matzo ball. We start out with the eggs in the salt water with the spinach, and that's from the island of Corfu. And then I'm going to do brisket, and I'm going to do this chicken pandora that's in one of my books with, my daughter-in-law is kosher, so I'm getting all kosher meats for the Seder. But the chicken has got sun-dried tomatoes and artichokes in it. And so I'm going to make that, brisket, and then everybody's going to bring
something.
Invited is they're going to bring salads, and they're going to bring vegetables and desserts. So, because I need some help, right?
It sounds like you need a lot of help.
And I've also asked everybody to try to bring some traditional recipe from their family.
Yes.
But half of the people that come aren't Jewish. A lot of them are not Jewish, that are, married to somebody who's Jewish or are interested in the Seder. There's a very new, well, I'm not going to say her name, but a very well-known poet who's not Jewish wants to come. And, I love my Seder, so.
And who leads the Seder? The kids? Do you?
Well, now that all my kids are going to do it, and then we have a cousin she knows a lot about it. But this year, the head of, he doesn't know it, but I'm going to ask him to help in some way. He's the head of the Department of Judaic Studies at American University. So he might do it. But my kids will do it. They all know a lot.
Right.
And my daughter Daniela's wife she's amazing, and she knows. So they'll all do it. Alan did a great job, but he's no longer here, so we have to, do something else.
Do it. And don't forget, for those listening, Passover is the story of the Israelis' departure from ancient Egypt.
And it's really the most important. It's how the Jews became Jews, going from slavery to freedom, and so that that's an important event. I just came back from Israel, and I was in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and I hadn't been there in years and years since I worked for Teddy Kollek in the 70s. And I walked into the church, and I realized that the church are also the last 3 or 4, I think it's 3, the places of when they walked to when he was crucified, and then it showed where he was resurrected. And it was very, very meaningful going there because, he was a Jew and he went through what he wanted. And so many people have gone through that throughout the centuries.
Right. And I'm talking
The
to
Stations
Joan
of the
Nathan.
The Stations of the Cross, that's it.
Right. And the Passover meal, the Seder,
That was
means,
the last meal. That
right,
we
the
had.
last meal, and the removal of leavened products. And they substitute matzah for bread, right? And then tell the story of the Exodus.
Right, and you're not supposed to have anything leavened, but it's not leavened. It's really fermented. So you can't have like fermented pickles, or you can't have fermented dough, or like. And very religious Jews will not eat matzah balls because they feel that at Passover that's really fermenting. And so they're all different traditions all over the world, and what you can eat and what you can't eat. It's just amazing, and it's pretty interesting.
Yes, without question. And Passover is on sundown, April 5th, right? And it goes to April 13th, does it?
Right.
Yes. Okay, well, it's something, and we always love to check in and see what the Nathan family is going to eat and what they're going to do. I remember during various holidays, you would organize plays and the kids would do theatrical events.
The plays, now the kids are grown up, but their children are children. So we're going to have the play, and we're going to do it outside. We did it outside last year. I want to see how cold it's going to be, if it's going to be cold enough. I mean, too cold to do it outside, but I'd love to do it outside. And it was wonderful because the kids would run around, and it was fabulous. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we'll be able to do it outside this year, and with wonderful people. And one year for my Seder, after the play, I could see nobody wanted to leave, and I felt that it was because we don't have meetings together as a group. We're so separate, don't you think? I mean, I know your family, they're not, but the way that we live, we had all come together for this evening, and nobody wanted it to end.
I know, that's the end.
And so all my kids are coming there. One lives in New Orleans, the other two live in L.A., and they're all coming for the Seder.
Well, I love that. It's fantastic. And you're right, our family, because we grew up like that, all the cousins still, wherever they're from, try to make it in for this holiday. And as Joan Nathan pointed out, there are Jews and non-Jews, but it's all about the family, the togetherness, the Seder, the tradition, and of course, the food. I mean, we're still talking about what we should cook or what we should make. My daughter said, I just made a chicken with prunes, apricots, and apples. That was really delicious.
Well, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something like that and get away.
I think that what's really important is to have a few recipes that say, this is my family, that you use every year, and then the rest you can try new things with. And I always make this thing called a kremslach, which
What's that?
It's like a matzah donut that my father always had in his family, and my mother learned to make it, and I make it every year. It's really hard because I have so much to do, but I do it at the last minute, and I try to take time to think about my dad. And everybody loves it, and whatever's left over from dinner, they have it for breakfast with prunes, stewed prunes, and it's like this crispy donut it's a crispy matzah donut with apricots and prunes and raisins and nuts. It's really delicious.
Oh my gosh, it sounds absolutely delicious. I was taking a writing course, And one of the assignments was something like this, persistence of memory, family holidays. And I remember that the last time we did this, I was standing in my kitchen. I was on the phone as usual. It was tucked under my chin. One hand was in the freezer testing the ice cream, in case something new had happened. And on the other hand, when it was free, because the phone was being held by my chin, I would be preparing food, and my breakfast room is mirrored, all across it. And I looked in that mirror and I saw my mother. And
oh my God, that's so great.
Right. I was like, what's my mother doing in my mirror?
Oh.
But there she was.
Oh, how wonderful.
And when you're a kid, you say, I'm never going to grow up to be my mother. And of course, I hope when I grow up, I'll be my mother.
I know. Believe me, in my memoir, I realized how, like somebody once told me, the most important person in your life is your mother, no matter what you say, bad or good. And, I think that's true, especially for a woman.
Right. No, it is true.
But I honestly, I think of the way my mother lived her life, and I think about her every single day, and I hope that I can live up to her. She was a great lady.
Well, and you're a great lady, and I love that you came on with us. Happy holiday to you and your family.
The same to you.
I hope I see you soon. Thank you. The one and only Joan Nathan, who is a very well-renowned cookbook author, writes for major publications, including the New York Times, has her own memoir coming out in a year, and we're going to look for that, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear. Coming up next is wonderful actor Danny Burstein, who's starring on Broadway in Pictures from Home. Stay tuned.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
The First Lady of New York Radio, Joan Hamburg. Entertaining and informative. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome, everyone, to the Joan Hamburg Show. And I'm really happy to have Danny Burstein with me today, one of our great actors. In fact, Danny, not that long ago, won a Tony for his performance as Harold in Moulin Rouge on Broadway. He's won all kinds of awards, nominations, everything great. And I particularly loved his work in Pictures from Home. If you haven't seen it, do. It had a real impact on me. I truly love this show. Pictures from Home, Broadway.com, and it's at Studio 54. And, I often talk about when I'm giving a lecture or something about my family, what it was like growing up in my very large, noisy family, and that my brother and I are convinced we grew up, even though we lived in the same home, in two different places because our experiences were so different. And this play had so much meaning for me. It's real. And I'm going to let Danny Burstein, who stars as the son in this amazing piece of theater, give you a little bit of background. Hi, Danny. Welcome.
Hi, Joan. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I love the play. It brought back so much and so much to think of, even in the future, how we all have different versions of a shared life.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
So-
I'll start at the beginning.
Go ahead, Danny.
Pictures from Home is the true life story of the photographer Larry Sultan. who had the great idea of going down. He lived in San Francisco, and his parents lived in the San Fernando Valley. They're transplanted New Yorkers. And he went down to visit his parents once a month, sometimes twice a month, for 10 years to take pictures of them, to live with them, to try to get their real life, get pictures of their real life. But while he was taking pictures of them, he also brought his tape recorder. And so what he did was he created this wonderful picture memoir book, also called Pictures from Home. And he interviewed his parents and got their stories, the stories of their lives. And who wouldn't want to, on some level, really deeply understand why their parents did what they did, made the decisions they did, and know their parents in a very deep, deep way. And that's what he did for 10 years. And his parents were very forgiving and loving and allowed him to do that. And he created this amazing book that put him on the map in many ways. And this was in the late 80s when he did this. And the book was published in 1992. Our playwright, Shar White, saw an exhibition of these beautiful pictures that he took in 2015 and decided he thought that there might be a play here. And then he started writing the play, and now it's on Broadway at Studio 54, and it stars Nathan Lane and Zoe Wanamaker and myself. And we love the play very much. We think it's quite beautiful. And we talk about many, many issues in the plays, obviously family issues, but it's also about how a piece of art is created. So it works on many, many levels.
And how did this impact you? I know when those of us in the audience were definitely impacted, which is the sign of good theater, but could relate to so much of it and actually feel longing for the experience of you, the son. Like, I kept thinking, why didn't I come up with something like that for the family? Because you really want to get to know your parents. And that's what happened here. Did this impact you in many ways?
It did, obviously. The idea of holding on to your parents and wanting them to live
not die.
Forever. Not die. I thankfully, both my parents are still very much alive and doing well. And they live in Queens. It was a very moving experience for me when they saw the show on opening night. I was very weepy that night because I love them so much and I want to hold on to them so much and I want to understand them. And this play brings up all those themes. And that's why I keep using the word beautiful. I think it is a beautiful play, and it's very, very impactful on our audiences. You hear the weeping at the end of the play. It's so beautiful, but it's not sad, per se. It's also screamingly funny. You have two of the greatest comic actors in the world, Nathan Lane and Zoe Wanamaker, up there, and they're super, super bright and interesting people, and so they bring fully realized characters to life, but they're also screamingly funny.
Well, and when you see it, it's really about many things, as you point out, but it's about family.
Yeah.
And I've so longed to know, parents are so protective when kids are growing up that you feel in a way you don't really know them that much. I mean, what makes them tick? Are they really happy? What's behind all of this? And this is what happens in this play. And this is the son's job, this project that parents don't get. I mean, is this kid ever going to make a living? How is he going to support his own family doing this? 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
What did your parents think?
My parents loved it. They absolutely loved it. And they were, needless to say, very, very proud. Yeah, it is a beautiful play that way. It asks the character, Larry Sultan, asks the important questions of his parents. And it isn't always easy to hear the answers. And it isn't always easy for the parents to reveal the truth. As you said, parents want to protect their children and they want to forget the very difficult times. But he delves into their, if you will, origin stories and tries to tease out of them the truth of what happened and how they arrived at where they are, but also who they are.
And your character, Larry, is really an artist too. I mean, we can't let go of that fact that it's not just a son trying to hold on to his parents. Mm-hmm. He comes to it from many different directions, including he is an artist.
Right. And the great thing about the conceit of this play is that we use Larry Sultan's actual photographs from the book in the play. And we refer to them. They're projected on the back wall. We refer to them constantly. And they are the original photos, but we refer to them as ourselves. And so I'm talking to Nathan Lane, but looking at a picture of Irving Sultan on the back wall, but referring to him, my dad, Nathan Lane, as Irving. Right. And it's, after, I'm sure it takes a second for the audience to go, oh, that's what they're doing. But then I've been told by the end of it, from people who have seen the show, that you fully accept it. And that you start to think, oh, that is him. It looks just like him, actually. They have a lot of similar qualities. And that's the great conceit about the play, because these gorgeous masterpiece pictures are projected on the back.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you know what else I really like, Danny, is that when you do what you in the play, as the son does, trying to find out everything you can about your parents, you wind up finding yourself in many ways too.
That's exactly right, and that's the journey of the play for my character, especially figuring out who I'm supposed to be, what kind of a man I'm supposed to be, what kind of an artist I'm supposed to be, and why. Trying to figure out why I decided to do this project to begin with. Larry at the beginning is not quite sure what he's looking for, as that's the journey of any artist. You never know what the end goal is. You just start out because you have this deep idea that there could be something beautiful there. And he realizes that he wants his parents to live forever in this idealized but actually real, very real, raw way. So he wants it to be everything all at once in these pictures, extremely raw, extremely real, and honest. But he also wants them, idealized and romanticized, and he wants everybody to see what he sees in them. And then he sees that, he just never wants to let that go. And that is kind of simple in a way, but it's also beautiful, universal, and extremely profound at the same time, his discovery of that idea.
When you were coming of age, was being an actor right up there?
I was very lucky. Both my parents are teachers. My dad taught ancient Greek philosophy at Queens College for 53 years, and my mom, who's 82, is still teaching art. I was not much of a reader, and my dad, much to the chagrin of my parents, my dad would give me book after book, and I would read about 90 pages and then get bored with it. And then he gave me a play, and that sort of opened up the world of theater to me. And I loved, and I asked him for more, and I kept reading play after play after play. And I never thought I could actually make a living as an actor. I just thought it would be a lovely, way to make a living, but I never thought of that as anything anything real. I thought it was just kind of a pipe dream, and people told me how difficult it was to be an actor. And then when I was 13, a teacher of mine said, "You should be in my play," when I was at Parsons Junior High School in Queens. And I did this play with my teacher, my English teacher. And afterwards he said, "You know what? You should go to the High School of Performing Arts." And I said, "Well, what's the High School of Performing Arts?" And he explained it to me, and he said, "Ben Vereen went there, and Liza Minnelli went there." And I said, "Well, that's fantastic. What do I have to do?" He said, "You have to prepare a couple of monologues." And I said, "Great. What's a monologue?" And, he explained the whole audition process. And the year I auditioned, well over 4,000 kids, New York City school kids, auditioned to get into the drama department, and 127 made it in. And I was just lucky. I got very lucky that day. And all of a sudden, this insane pipe dream that I had that was sort of in the back burner came to life. And the very first day, they said, "If you don't think you want to be an actor for the rest of your life, you may be in the wrong place." And I just knew that that's what I always wanted to do. It's where my imagination flourished and where my heart was. So I got extremely lucky that day.
And you followed your dreams through. What about your own family? You have children.
I do. I have two sons. My older son is the first AD on films, on feature films, and also on commercials. He just had a film at South by Southwest. He's doing great. He goes from one feature to another, Alex. And my younger son, Zach, is on the West Coast, and he's a musician. He plays like 14 instruments, and he's extremely talented. So,
do you worry about them? Were you the parent who said, like maybe your parents, and like I did to my own kid, why can't you be a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor?
Well, I never said that to my kids. When I was lucky enough to have a philosopher for a father who was a writer and a protege of Philip Roth.
Oh, you're kidding. So he was an artist in his way.
Yeah. So Dad said things like, "What would you like to do when you grow up? What would you like to be? You can be anything you want. Would you like to be a poet? Wouldn't that be wonderful?" I mean, who says that to their kid? I just got lucky in that way.
And you really were lucky.
Yeah, and so I didn't put that kind of pressure on my own kids. I wanted them to find their own path, but I knew I would, just like my dad did, I tried to instill moral values into them. And so they knew right from wrong, and they knew that kindness was the best way to proceed in any situation. And they chose paths that made them happy. And I couldn't be more proud of both of them, and they're doing okay. So,
okay, and they were lucky because it's really so interesting, which is why I related even so much to the play. But I kept thinking, I know better. Why am I urging him to do something that would never really interest him? Is safety that important, or do you have to jump to really go somewhere? And sometimes you have to jump.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said, Joan. Yeah.
Well, so what's of all the disciplines that you're involved in, Danny, and I'm talking to Danny Burstein, in Pictures from Home, Studio 54 on Broadway, you've got to see it because you're going to reach out and touch it. And it gives you a lot of thought. In fact, we left the theater, and usually we're all trying to grab a cab. This time, we went over to Sardi's and sat there at the bar talking about the play and our reaction and our feelings, which was pretty good.
Yeah, we have a lot of that, and I'm very I'm honored that the play has that kind of impact on people.
Yeah, and also that your own family could see it, which is, really special, and that you could be there even with them to understand what all this, it's definitely touches hearts everywhere. And so you were familiar with the photographer, Larry Sullivan?
No, I never seen none of us in the play were familiar with his work. But afterwards, of course, we just did a deep dive into everything he ever did. And thankfully, his widow, Kelly, because Larry is no longer with us, Kelly was around and his sons were around. So we got, very personal information about him and about who he was as a human being, not just as an artist. And they gave us access to the actual tape recordings that he did with his parents at the time, which is incredibly moving to listen to those tapes, to hear what the actual, conversations were like in the moment. And they were, hours and hours and hours of them, and very moving and very silly. And they actually loved one another, deeply, even though, it could be tense, of course, because you're asking these people to open up their souls, bare their souls to their son, someone they may not want to open up to, and expose themselves as being vulnerable in some way. And, it's very moving. It was very moving to actually have those tapes given to us by his widow, Kelly, who is an amazing human being who still lives up in
and certainly moving for us to see it. And I loved the way everyone was dressed. Oh, my gosh, that rang so many bells.
Yes. Yeah, the late 80s, right?
Oh, that's right. I said they must have come to my house and done my mother and her card group.
Right. Well, who didn't have an avocado green refrigerator at the time? I loved all that.
It was great. So, Danny, now this occupies obviously a great deal of time. What else is on the Burstein plate?
Oh gosh, I did episodes of a show called Will Trent that's on ABC. There's a new TV show called Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies. It's a prequel to the movie and the show Grease. Did an episode of that. Worked on a show called Julia on HBO, and I record every day. I record a bunch of cartoon voices for Dora the Explorer, and I'm on a TV show called Tokyo Vice. I'm always doing something. It's very busy, and it's a full life, no doubt about it.
Well, I'm excited, and let it long reign. And this is something you really have to see. It gave us enormous pleasure. We had, it's rare that you experience every emotion. That's what theater should do and does often. And in this play in particular, it was about any of our lives, even though it's a son, it could have been a daughter. It's about our lives, our families, and the things that we don't really get to see underneath unless we're in that position and have to look. So it was a real treat. All the best to you, Danny. I look forward to talking to you again.
I look forward to it as well. Take care, my friend.
Thanks. Danny Burstein on Broadway in Pictures from Home. And this is a fairly new play that all of us got such pleasure out of. I've got lots more show for you, so stay tuned. And you're listening to WABC, and I'm Joan Hamburg.
Get into your body's vitals with the Vitals app on Apple Watch.
I wanna get into my body and then my skin do the talking. I wanna feel like I'm myself again.
The Vitals app tracks key overnight metrics so you can spot changes in your health before you feel them. The Vitals app on Apple Watch. iPhone XS or later required. The Vitals app is for wellness purposes only and not for medical use.
I wanna get into my body.
the First Lady of New York Radio.
This is Ask Joan.
We barely had winter, and now cherry blossom season is starting. And I know a lot of you have said, where are they? Where can we see them? These trees are so gorgeous, and they're blooming in a lot of places in our tri-state area. Branch Brook Park, you know that, in Essex County, New Jersey. And it's in Newark's northward section, less than 45 minutes from Manhattan. Go to EssexCherryBlossom.com. Honestly, you don't have to go to Washington, D.C. It's fun. It's a great trip. But the cherry blossoms are right in our own backyard. Branch Brook Park in Essex County has the largest cherry blossom collection in the United States. More than 5,200 cherry blossom trees, 18 varieties. And I went to see them a while ago. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. All these gorgeous trees set in this beautiful park. The park is 360 acres, lawns and playing fields, you name it, historic sites. We love it. And it's a free, self-guided cell phone historic walking tour, and you all have to just dial 973-433-9047. There are 72 tour stops, and there's a barcode at each one that unlocks the park history, horticulture information. It's great. And starting next week is the 2023 Essex County Cherry Blossom Festival. Goes through April 16th. Lot of events, including special things for the family. There's a bike race, a run, local talks. If you want to see the whole deal, go to EssexCherryBlossom.com. A little advice, try to go during the week. Parking on the weekends is challenging. Central Park in Manhattan, they're mainly between 72nd Street and 96th Street for the best cherry blossoms. Absolutely beautiful. And the Conservancy has a 1.5-hour expert-led reservoir tour, and it features the beautiful Yoshino cherry trees. And it tells you how they came to Central Park, how the Conservancy takes care of it, and you may hit the full bloom. So the tours are the 7th, the 8th, the 13th, the 15th, the 16th, $35 a person. Go to centralparknyc.org. You can sign up. The Brooklyn Botanic Gardens has wonderful cherry blossoms that we really love seeing. It's spectacular. And over the next couple of weeks, more than 200 flowering cherry trees. You'll see the progression from buds to flowers to falling petals, all there in the Japanese Hill and Pond Gardens, on Cherry Esplanade Lawn, and on the Cherry Walk. A lot of great stuff that you can do. Go on to bbg.org, bbg.org/visit. Special programs out of the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. I know you're going to love it. And on weekends, there's pop-up music, dance performances, workshops for the kids. It's really something special. We're lucky, so take advantage.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.